Hey guys, today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be giving y'all a quick demo of my Delgato SteeamDeck and how I use it with different programs and CrazyTalk Animator. I wanted to start this video off a little bit differently because a lot of people have been kind of interested in where I work and how I do things, and it's gonna get a little bit messy. You're gonna get to see my laboratory, and but I'm not gonna give you a full tour or anything like that. I just kind of want you guys to see the environment and stuff. Take a quick peek at Sinistar Interactive, and I'll show you my work area and how I have my stuff set up. Amongst them is the Delgato SteeamDeck, which I use to create a lot of the macros and things like that to control my programs, like Adobe Flash or Animate or CrazyTalk Animator even. So let's take a look inside. All right, so it looks like we have a little bit of mail. Okay, so basically my setup is something that like this. I mean, my studio is built inside of an old church building. Different rooms have different functions. I usually build sets for filming all sorts of things. This is the main sanctuary area. And all of these pews are, detachable. I just remove them based on what I want to do. So generally I have this giant sound stage here. Up there is my old apartment where I used to stay at when I used to live inside the studio. All of these rooms on the side are basically different sets. I mean, we have like hospital sets and things of that nature. Right now it's being used for like, a typical church thing. Lawyer's office is back there. We have a bit of like a radio station setup back here. I don't know if you guys can see. So some recording equipment, audio stuff right here. Nothing too fancy, just generic web radio type stuff. In this room we used to do a lot of filming of like office type stuff, hence that green wall back there, because we used to replace the backgrounds with like different types of skylines and things. But this main area here is where I do the majority of my work. A lot of mocap stuff, and all I have to do is take away the pews and move them out of the way. We just roll them out. Sometimes we'll convert this into a courtroom or, a fancier church, or, we'll just make the space to put in fake walls here and just record whatever we want. So I'm not gonna do like a full tour because that's not what this video is about. I just kind of wanted to show y'all a little bit of my work area. I'm gonna take y'all back to my laboratory. This is the messy part. In here, guess you can call it my man cave also, but it's really just my laboratory. I do all sorts of work and experimentation and things, and this is where I just get my hands dirty. It's really messy. I'm always working on stuff, and I tend to have a type of ADHD or something because I can't work on just one project at the same time. There we go. That's my projection screen. That's where, Game of Thrones happens every Sunday night. Jon Snow, Daenerys. Hey, you want to see a pterodactyl? Hey, Rosie. Hey, baby. Hi, Mama. Good morning. She's like, what the hell's going on? Building a little bit of a arcade machine over here, cabinet. I mean, this place is a mess. I clean it up every now and then, and within 2 days it's back to, yes, I heard you. Within 2 days it's back to being a crazy mess. That's my giant green screen, or blue screen now. But it's a laboratory, what do you expect? I have a lot of tools, and I work with different things, and I try to come up with like different inventions and stuff. That's my the remnants of my tamale gun. It literally shoots tamales. So you know, sometimes I'll get an idea or whatever, and so you know, more tinkering stuff, and finally, here's where the animation work happens. My setup for animation is fairly, you know, I guess generic in a way. I have a larger monitor here so I can, you know, take a look at the different panels and, you know, additional stuff with my programs. And of course my Huion tablet. And this particular tablet I think it was like 400 bucks. It wasn't really that expensive. But you know, I can draw on it directly and get all sorts of stuff done, and works just as good as a Cintiq tablet, but it doesn't have, like, you know, the keyboard, the express keys and sliders and things, which I kind of like better because you know, I don't accidentally hit those buttons when I'm drawing and resting my hands and stuff. I like the form factor a little bit better. It's a little bit more easy to use. So this particular tablet, you know, it's on an arm, so I can still rotate it and pull it in, pull it out, and just make it more comfortable for myself as I'm drawing. I do keep a traditional drawing desk down here, and it has a glass top on there, so that if I wanted to, I can draw, you know, by hand and animate by hand. And I do have some printed out templates of some of my characters, so I can just trace over them and create hand-drawn modifications. The microphone for recording different things, and of course, this thing, the SteeamDeck, which is kind of what the main focus of this particular video today is. And I bought this thing because it helps you with the streaming aspect of it. So you can switch to a profile, and you have different functions that you create yourself. So whenever you go live, you do things like, if I want to go to my scene with the tablet and I want to show that, or go to my side camera, my right camera, or my front camera. I can also time it, so I can give myself, like, okay, I think I want to try to time the stream for about 60 minutes long, or whatever, you know. I switch different scenes. So that's the primary intent for this device, the Elgato SteeamDeck. I also keep a 3D mouse on hand, and this particular mouse allows me to work with different 3D programs, go in, out, up, down, left, right, move objects around in 3D space. It's a lot easier. Unfortunately, it doesn't work very well with iClone. It could. I mean, there's an SDK available, so somebody out there could easily make it work. But it does work with, you know, Blender and Maya and other programs like that. Back to the SteeamDeck, you know, here's the Adobe Animate panel that I created for it. So here's basic functions for navigating Adobe Animate and doing different things, sending commands, and for my drawing part, you know, select my selection tool, paint bucket, optimize my drawings. I have different things for optimization, the tools panels, the brush, you know, all my common things that I use, like navigate front, back, different things. And I also have my CrazyTalk Animator functions here. So I use a lot of my main macros for CrazyTalk Animator here. I haven't created fancy graphics for the buttons because I don't necessarily need them, but I have functions for zooming in and out, rotating objects, extending keyframes, removing keyframes, you know, some limited puppeteering stuff. So I'm gonna create a new, I mean, this device is, it's actually pretty damn useful. Even if you're not using it for streaming, I mean, ultimately it's a programmable control deck, you know, that you can use to, you know, do all sorts of things with things that you use on a normal basis. I didn't always have this wireless keyboard here on hand, so you know, doing additional things inside of the operating system was a little bit more cumbersome. But with this deck, I can do things like, okay, you know, when I launch my programs with Windows, and I can now start looking for it without necessarily having my keyboard or going through the things to looking stuff up. Can launch various programs if I want to launch CrazyTalk, for example. Let's see if it does it. Okay, maybe it got disabled. Nope, there it is. It just took a while because I haven't done it in a while. It's running it for the first time. So there's my iClone, my 3D Exchange stuff. So I can run different programs. I can also, you know, launch my customization tool there. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be showing you today. I'm going to be showing you how to customize that. But ultimately, this is a really cool tool that you can use to supplement any type of workflow. So there's my calculator and, you know, my Blender functions. For a long time, I didn't have a keyboard that had a number pad because I try to keep everything as minimal as possible. So unfortunately, now that I started using Blender, a lot of the functions in Blender require the use of the number pad. But at that time, what I did is, since I didn't have a number pad, I essentially created my own. So I would use this to supplement my number pad. So there's my home, my number 5 key, my number 1, etc. Page up, page down, and those worked just fine. So this is a really useful little device, and so let's take a quick look inside the software now, and I'm going to show you how to create a macro that you can use inside of CrazyTalk that's actually pretty damn useful for a function that probably should already exist within the software itself. All right, so here we go. All right, so we are inside of the computer now, and this is the software that comes with your SteamDeck. And as you can see, I have all my functions already laid out here, my custom ones that I've done. I'm going to create a basic folder here. I'm just going to drag it into an empty slot, and you can pretty much create unlimited folders, and inside of the folders you can create unlimited functions and more folders and all sorts of stuff. And you can make these for whatever program you want, really. I mean, you can control all sorts of things. So in this case, I'm going to do a folder called CrazyTalk, and I'm going to put one function in here. I already have one in here with some of my common functions that I use, but I'm doing one from scratch. So basically, I just went into that folder, and now I have all sorts of slots here. I can put more folders and more functions and more things of that nature. So I'm going to choose the system one because this one is kind of a generic for everything related to the system, and most programs do offer keyboard shortcuts and things of that, so this is probably the easiest way to get it done. Some programs also allow you to use MIDI interfacing, such as OBS Studio, OBS Studio, I don't know, that allow you to control things directly to the SDK or the IDE, I don't know, one of those words. So here I'm going to create a, let's see here, probably want, I don't want a hotkey switch. I need something that allows me to do multiple things in series. I don't think it's the hotkey. It's one of these in here. Did they put it somewhere else? System, website, open, multimedia, hotkey, custom. Nope. Where did it go? It's not that, because the hotkey one is just a basic hotkey. Okay, we're going to be using that, and Text multimedia. Oh, here we go. We want the multi-action, and this is going to be under the SteamDeck itself. There we go. I was looking under the wrong section. So we're going to grab a multi-action and bring it in here. And here we're going to start with something like, actually, I probably should create some kind of thing to work off of. So I'm going to drop a character inside of CrazyTalk real quick. Let's grab a G2 character. Doesn't matter which one. So I'm gonna open up the timeline, and one of the things that I've always hated about CrazyTalk Animator is that it tries to tween everything, so it limits a lot of what you can do as an animator, because it tries to animate everything for you, and sometimes you want more control over how you're animating, and the whole everything being tweened at the same time thing kind of does give it an unnatural feel to it. And when people see like all this fluid motion, they kind of tend to expect more. So what we're gonna do is something that nullifies that tweening function. So here I'm gonna keep an eye on the 3D motion layer. I'm going to animate a motion on this character. Here it is. I'm just going to slide her down if I can, if it'll let me. Why won't it let me? Oh, I'm doing the wrong bone. So she's there, and then at frame 5 I want her to stand up, and on frame 10 I want her to move a little bit this way. And on frame 15, I want her to kind of move back. All right, so by default, this is a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, this is kind of something that you want it to happen sometimes. I mean, but you should have a choice as to when you want it and when you don't, because sometimes you want precise movement as to, you know, maybe I want to do a better breakdown of my keyframes here, where I want to make more keyframes on this section to like adjust my speeds and my movement better. But let me loop this out, and I'm gonna change my frames to, let's say, 20 frames long. That way we can hit play and just see the animation. It looks like that. It doesn't look bad. I mean, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying that sometimes you want more control over it, and it's not always the best option. And you don't really have options to control that. So we have this tweened motion from this character. So what I want is I want to remove those tweens. Now, it's not difficult to achieve. It's just a little cumbersome. It requires a little bit more work and effort. So normally what you're going to do is you're going to select this keyframe, for example. You're going to hit Control C to copy that keyframe. Then you're going to move one frame. Actually, then you're going to go to the next keyframe. You're going to move one frame back. You're going to paste that keyframe there. So now you have something that is steady. Okay, so I'm extending this keyframe all the way to the last minute, so it stays there, and then my character goes up. So then I have to repeat this, copy, paste it over here, and so it requires you copying, moving back and forward and stuff, and you have to do this all the time. It can be a bit of a pain in the butt having to do that. It's completely unnecessary. I think Reallusion could easily put in a function in there that stops this type of animation from happening in the first place. So we end up having something that looks like this, you know, a little bit more traditional. So if you're a traditional animator who likes animating things by hand more manually, this would be the workaround for achieving some stuff like that. Of course, you end up with extra keyframes that are unnecessary, but you know, you can't have it all. So let's create a function that allows us to speed up that particular workflow. In fact, let me extend this clip a little bit more. That way we have a little bit more room to play with. So I know what the procedure is that I need to do. Now I need to program it into the Stream Deck. So I know the first thing that I want is to be able to copy whatever the selected frame is. So I'm going to grab this and select hotkey and drop it in there. I'll give it a name just so I can keep track of what it is. Copy selected key. And here I'm going to hit Control C because that's basically the keyboard shortcut for copy. Then what we want to do is we want to be able to find whatever the next keyframe is. Now the keyboard shortcut for that is the Tab key. So we located it. So we're going to go ahead and add that here as the next step. Find next key. That's the Tab key. We're going to drop another hotkey. Because at this point, now we want to be able to backtrack one step backwards. And that we use the arrow key. So step back one frame. And we're going to go to the left. So after we stepped back, we want to be able to paste whatever the selected keyframe is. So we're going to put it there. Paste the previous key, and that's going to be Control V. And just for grins, we're going to go ahead and move the position of our playhead back to the last key. So hotkey, and then I guess forward 1. At this point, I could either hit the Tab key or I guess the forward arrow, which will still get me one frame forward. So that's pretty much it. I created an entire sequence of keys here, and so now I go to my Stream Deck. Of course, I can name it something like extend keyframe. So that's my function. Maybe I should center it so I can see it and read it better. So there's my custom command that I created for CrazyTalk Animator. So now I'll select this key, for example, and I'm going to go to my Stream Deck, and I'm just going to press it. So I'm physically pressing it with my finger, with my thumb now. So I have this selected. I'm going to press it. Boom, it did it. I'm going to select that one and do it. Boom, it did it. I'm going to select that one and do it. And bam. So I just took care of that. So that gets me to where I want to be. Really quick, really easily. So that is how I personally use the Stream Deck to create various types of macros and functions. Now there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts inside of CrazyTalk Animator that you can use and exploit. So you can use a lot of things to control the camera, move things around, move characters around. Let's see here, like these rotate functions, for example. I believe I actually have that one set up for the camera. I'm not using it right now, so I'm not gonna mess with it. But you know, you can do stuff like this to control the character using your Stream Deck and do different things. You know, it's all about programming them and stuff. Okay, so that takes care of that. Hopefully you guys get an idea of how you can use this. It's a really good tool to have. I believe it's only like $99, but I mean, it's extremely useful. Huge improvement to your workflow once you know, get the idea on how to use the different things. I mean, obviously it was created primarily for the streaming community to control your streaming software, but ultimately it is a programmable set of keys that you can pretty much do whatever you want with, and that's very useful. So highly recommend it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that tutorial, and yeah, this was a little bit of a different thing. I wanted to also give you a little bit of an insight of what my work area looks like. It's a mess. It's always really hectic around here, and you know, Stream Deck, highly recommend it. Go out and buy yourself one. You're gonna thank yourself, you know, for it.